A woman killed during a 6-hour standoff with police. Our media partner, the Baltimore Sun, was first to report the story after obtaining the videos. WJZ's live Avajoy Burnett has the dramatic footage. Avajoy?
Denise, good evening. This new video shows the intense moments leading up to that deadly encounter.
Man,
for anybody who want to know what I'm
when will it stop?
Videotaping an apparent shotgun in her hand, Korryn records herself holed up in her apartment with her 5-year-old son.
But
Come
the
on,
devil
man.
at my door, and he's refusing to leave.
Baltimore County officers were serving a misdemeanor warrant on 23-year-old Gaines at her apartment back in August when they say she threatened officers with a shotgun. In this video, you can see what appears to be the barrel of a shotgun, and then hear an officer trying to resolve the situation.
You and I are going to talk until we come to an agreement. We bring everybody out safe, and you and I will have a sit down.
Now, what is going on?
I know that this ain't right.
It's not. I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I've never hurt anybody. We've been quiet a while, so they plotting to come in here and disturb the peace here. They've already disturbed the peace. I'm not a criminal.
An officer, only identified as Officer First Class Ruby, exchanged gunfire with Gaines, killing her and injuring her son.
Man.
The Baltimore County State's attorney determined the shooting was justified. Now, the Gaines family has filed a lawsuit against the county, calling the killing illegal and unconstitutional. Reporting live tonight, Avajoy Burnett, WJZ Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Avajoy. No charges were filed against the officers involved.
Service members responded to the unit block of Salke Court to serve 2 arrest warrants. A warrant for Mrs. Gaines from an incident that occurred in March of this year during a traffic stop. The other warrant was for the other occupant in the home, Mr. Korryn. It was an assault warrant that was taken out by Mrs. Gaines due to a domestic assault that had occurred weeks prior. The officers began to knock on the door of the apartment.
But he wasn't there, though.
Repeatedly, the officers announced their presence, their intent. They repeatedly tried to get the occupants to the front door. They heard a female's voice. They heard a male's voice. They heard a crying child.
Oh, now they're saying he was there, huh?
After approximately 10 minutes, they retrieved a key from apartment management, turned the lock, door opens slightly, and is secured by the standard security chain that we're all familiar with. They could clearly see a female that they believed to be Miss Gaines seated on the floor, a child nearby who immediately began to wield a shotgun around, bringing it up to ready position, pointing it directly at the officer there to serve the arrest warrants. The officers immediately retreated, took cover in the hallway of this structure, and immediately began.
And they never wanted to know where the male was because they didn't see him, they just heard it. And make it make sense.
Tactical and support personnel at 9:40 a.m. Tactical personnel began to take up positions, inner and outer perimeters, negotiation by both trained hostage negotiation personnel. Within minutes, the male occupant of the home exited the home with a child. We do not know why he didn't take both children. One child. He exited the home. It was taken into custody on the outstanding warrant that we had.
So he was in the...
Things are going well, up and down. There were times when we thought this would come to a peaceful resolution, closure. There are other times that she was highly agitated. The entire time, throughout the afternoon, she repeatedly would point the weapon at our personnel. And they maintained firearms discipline throughout those numerous incidents. At approximately 4 in the afternoon, she again brought the weapon up to the ready position, announce to one or more of the tactical team personnel, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. At that point, a tactical officer discharged a round.
Oh, now she said we.
That round struck Mrs. Gaines. She in turn fired several rounds at us. A double-aught buck. The officer was struck. Our personnel returned 3 rounds of fire, striking her and killing her.
Boy.
Obviously, as we immediately went in to render medical aid and assistance, we detected that the child was injured as well. We do not know at this moment in time if the child was struck by our round.
See, we have had some big-time developments in the Korryn Gaines civil trial this morning. This is now week 3 of the trial that's expected to wrap up here within the next couple of days. And Officer Royce Ruby Jr., the Baltimore County police officer who fired the fatal shot that killed Gaines, everybody has been wondering, will he take the stand? Will he testify? Well, this morning he did, and I want to go over a quick rundown of some of the things he said up there. He said, quote, "I gave Korryn every opportunity to do the right thing, to put the gun down and let Cody come outside of that apartment." He also said, quote, "I took the first shot because I had no choice." A couple of other things he talked about was how he was thinking about Cody the entire time, worried about his safety. And he also said that he even tried to grab Cody, Korryn's 5-year-old son, as he ran by the apartment doorway one time to pull him and get him safe. And he said that Korryn screamed at him, lunged at him, and grabbed Cody back. Now, this was a very emotional time during the courtroom. Again, he was brought up there by the defense. After lunch break here, they're going
Just
to
kill me,
cross-examine,
no body
and
cam,
it will
though.
certainly be interesting
What
to see
about
how
that?
this all plays out. But a very emotional morning in the courtroom. Officer Royce Ruby Jr., who fired the
Truth
fatal
don't need
shot
no
that killed
help.
Korryn Gaines, has testified, and we're going to pick back up here within about an hour for some cross-examination from attorneys Ken Ravenel and attorneys Jay Wendell Gordon, who are representing the Gaines family. We will have a lot more on this story on WJZ at 5 and 6 o'clock tonight.
Takes place every single week. And sure, we can have debates on whether or not the laws being enforced are just laws, but it seems that the time to take that up with those who would make that decision, Charles, would be later, not to protest your case there with cops or, heaven forbid, draw down on them. What's your take on this case?
Well, I think that's right. In certain cases, I've criticized the abundance of laws that lead police to people's doors in the first instance. Similarly, perhaps that lead them to try to take them off the street. But that really is not the material point here.
It has to stop, man.
The other point I would make is that police sometimes make errors, and they do, does not mean that in this case they did. Now, if there is one rule I think we can all agree upon, it is that if you point a firearm at a police officer, if you tell a police officer you are going to use that firearm to kill them, they are justified in shooting. And as you say, it wasn't immediate that this lady was shot. It was a hostage situation for 4 or 5 hours. There was a child involved as well. It, to my mind, undermines the case that Black Lives Matter makes. It undermines what have been in some cases genuinely questionable or even
why no forensic though?
When they make a hero.
Why no body cam footage?
Who pointed a gun at cops.
Yes, and in this video that we're showing right now, viewers, that's one of the officers there who was standing in the hallway. And even the videos, Charles, that she had posted to her, I believe that was Instagram, to her Instagram account, because they're all about 15 seconds, during this whole process, they even undermined the story that is being told by activists now. It shows to me that they're exercising an abundance of caution, because they could have very easily said, look, she drew on us. She was pointing a rifle at us. We had every reason to fire, and they didn't, but it was when she became more and more aggressive and then verbally threatened to kill them that ultimately police fired. And to say nothing of the 5-year-old child that was sitting there in her lap that activists don't seem to be incredibly concerned about.
Sure, and I think the child is key. In some circumstances, I've heard arguments that the police should have backed off. Police should have left. And you could feasibly make that case here. It was a bench warrant. She wasn't engaged in imminent criminal activity. But not when there's a child. Not when there's a child on a lap. You cannot say to a police officer, having seen the suspect draw a gun and threaten to kill, You
Oh, so
have
now
to
they did it
leave
in
the
the best interest
premises
of the
and
child.
pretend nothing has happened when there is a 5-year-old child there.
Talking about
And
flipping
again,
the
she
narrative.
turned it essentially into a hostage situation. You will find me
Or hostage.
skeptical, often of authority, and skeptical of the police in some circumstances.
Unbelievable.
But in this case, I don't think there was any choice. I think this was clear-cut.
Particular an end to qualified immunity. I'm honored to be joined tonight by Rhonda Dormis, Korryn Gaines' mother, and family attorney J. Wendell Gordon. Welcome, both of you, tonight. Rhonda, I want to start with you. 5 years since your daughter was taken, the anniversary just passed of Korryn's death. I'm a mother. Can't imagine the pain of losing your child. Has time eased any of your pain?
You know what? Unfortunately, I wouldn't have recognized it if it had, because what I had to endure after going through everything properly and being able to obtain some semblance of justice through the judicial system, you know, that in itself just put a halt to my healing, because, you know, I have to deal with the loss of my daughter every day. Every day that God allows me to wake up, I remember that I had my daughter here with me, and then all of a sudden she was gone. And then to have people constantly reminding me how she was taken from me and fighting against me to prevent me from getting, like I said, a semblance of justice, something that 6 jurors painstakingly, you know, thought about and processed and delivered on. You know, so my healing, it has really been on a stand, you know, at a standstill. It really has.
I wonder what you make of this when we have seen too many of these police fatal these killings. It seems that the victims are taken from their families, but their memories are co-opted and taken from you too. Is there something you could tell us about your daughter to bring her to life for those of us who didn't know her? Who was she?
Well, she was my baby for one, and she was an outspoken young lady. She was well learned. She was a business owner. She owned property, and all of these things were accomplished. You know, she was dead by 23, so a lot of those accomplishments came, you know, early. And you know, she was just loved. You know, she was fun loving. She was an awesome mother, and I think that's one of the hardest pills to swallow with her not being here. Is for her children would never know how wonderful she was. She was actually a doting mother. She was a disciplinarian, but she, you know, she really had focused on being a good parent. And so, you know, it's just so many things I can bring up that can express the type of person she was. You know, she was a swimmer. She was on the swim team. She played the clarinet in high school, you know, and it's just so many things, you know, that I think all of us, my whole family, miss.
Yeah, and I know the rally was also focused on getting justice for Korryn, but also celebrating her life. And I wonder if you feel that it flooded you with emotion, if it accomplished anything.
Well, the answer to both, yes. I was flooded. I was so emotional. You know, my warrior lawyer can, you know, definitely say that I was a mess, because this has been so long coming, you know, to have, you know, just people uplifting and really getting to understand what this case is about. You know, at the rally, I stated that my daughter never got a chance to stand a trial. And the one who did stand a trial, he was found to have been improper in his actions. And that's what people don't understand. My daughter was not on trial. This officer, Officer Royce Ruby Jr., was the one who had been found. My lawyer always has to remember the statement. What's the term for the jurors to consider?
Wrongful death.
Gordon?
Wrongful death.
No, I'm talking about what they came up with about how careless and reckless he was. Was his first shot reckless? Of course, it was reckless.
Objectively unreasonable. Objectively unreasonable.
Right, because you know he had the public believing that she aimed and shot a gun at him, but everything in everything that was uncovered showed that wasn't possible.
which is why there was no body cam
In these
footage.
cases, we find they are put on trial. Jay Window, and maybe you can help people at home understand
And
this.
no
We do know
forensics
over the
done.
weekend, as we said, news that the Gaines family had settled with the county of Baltimore. That was made public. I know you can't give us the number. You can't talk about the money in the settlement. But for people watching tonight who may not be aware, can you give us background on the civil litigation in Korryn's case? Because there's this settlement, but it does not include her 5-year-old son. So explain what will happen with that.
Okay, so I expect that case to settle really soon. There was a 15-day jury trial. About the only thing we agreed upon at the outset of that trial, and throughout the entire trial really, was that those 6 jurors who we had meticulously selected were the 6 people in the best position, most qualified to hear this case. And when they came up with their decision, just because the county did not like it, they went further with it, got the judge to hold on to a motion for an entire year and then grant their motion almost to the anniversary of the decision the following year. We appealed that decision, and as you said, we were successful in the Court of Special Appeals. The court reinstated the verdict, reinstated the award, however, with the caveat that they would remand the case to that very same judge to have him determine whether or not the award was excessive or whether or not the county may be entitled to a new trial. So right then and there, we knew that we needed to take this case out of the hands of the judge and take this fight to the streets. And that's what we did. We enlisted a popular radio show host here by the name of Larry Young. We campaigned to put a team together to talk to elected officials, advocates, activists, civil rights organizations, and other attorneys. And we just came together, we put this team together, and then we marched into Johnny O's office, and he is the county executive. And we were like, okay, you know, the law says one thing, and we may have some challenges because there's some caps on damages, but there's a humanity aspect that you are missing, sir. And you are about to start your re-election campaign in September. And I'm going to tell you, if you try to hide behind these archaic damages caps in the state of Maryland, that will not bode you well, because we're going to be out there every day. We're going to be picketing. We're going to be bringing in national personalities to talk about you. We're going to make Towson, Maryland, ground zero for police reform and accountability. And evidently our words rang true, and they were very persuasive. And as a result, we got an award that exceeds the damages caps that they could have actually hidden behind had this case stayed in the hands of the courts, and we continue to litigate this case in the dark. One of the best decisions we made was to bring this case to the public. And upon doing that, after fighting for 5 years, within 90 days, our case was settled. Now, with regard to Cody's case is a little bit different. We settled for the entire case with the exception of Cody. Cody had a separate attorney who's a very capable attorney. His damages were obviously far more egregious than ours. So it's going to require a little more rolling up the sleeves and a little more hard work to come to a settlement. But I expect that it will come. It will come probably within the next 30 days.
Yeah, you've been in the fight with this family for a long time. I know it continues. Perhaps it's a blueprint, the pressure inside and outside the courtroom to get justice for too many families out there. Rhonda, I want to know 2 things.
Praying for this family.
I want to know how Cody
Long
is
live Korryn
doing.
Gaines.
And also, I want to talk
Shout
about
out to Cody, for real.
the fatigue. You know, a mother's love has no limits, but the fatigue of the litigation, the fight for justice, what it's done to you in the midst of your grief.